Hey Cancer, this is your look at the astrology of April 2021. My name is Katie Sweetman. This is Empowering Astrology. I'm an astrologer and psychic medium here in Brooklyn, New York. So let's dive in. So, Cancer, this is the part of your personal calendar. The sun is in Aries and it's reached, let's say, the highest part of your astrology chart. When you get to, like, let's say, the highest of the highs, it's about your professional life. It's about the role that you play in the world, the title after your name, the responsibilities and the ambitions that you carry. So this is your natural season to sort of push yourself out there into the world. That's going to come with a little caveat, which I'll explain in a moment. So normally this is a time, especially with Mercury going into Aries on April 3rd, followed by the Aries new moon on April 11th, where it's time for professional new beginnings. Normally, I'd say, okay, this is a time for, maybe it's a professional change, it's a new position, it's a promotion, it's step up in the ongoing ladder climb that I guess we're all on, or whatever. But or maybe it's a time when you're really thinking about the responsibilities and the duties that you have to sort of perform out in the world, or these sort of bigger existential questions. What is my role in the world? And maybe existential is a good word to sort of highlight, because this is where I put that little asterisk next to everything. Mars, the ruler of this new moon, is over in what I like to call your 12th room, this last part of your astrology house. And Mars in this part of the chart, it doesn't have a lot of stamina, doesn't have a lot of drive and action. It does, it's just in a different way. When Mars is sort of outside of this part of the chart, it's more worldly. It's like you have energy and you can put it towards your professional life. You can put it towards relationship or moving or whatever. But when you get to this part of the chart, you have to make sure that your professional goals and ambitions line up with something greater, something higher. I don't know what you believe in. We all believe in different things, but there's sort of the things that we want in life. And then sometimes we get that little knock on the shoulder, a little tap on the shoulder, and we realize that there's actually something greater than us. And maybe this is a new moon that's really getting you to sort of reevaluate your direction in life. And how does that line up with something greater? Do you feel a conflict? And maybe you don't, and that's great. And maybe this is the month where now your professional goals and ambitions are right in sync with the sort of deeper goals and ambitions that you have on a soul level, and how this life is meant for something bigger. Because this is a very, there's a depth to this month for you. Mars has you pulling back. It has you reevaluating, recalibrating, resting. Maybe you're more tired than usual. Maybe you're realizing as you go into this new moon that you can't move at the pace that you've always been moving. You're like, why am I working 12 hours, 16 hours? Like, that's insane. I think at the heart of this time of year, Aries season, then we have the polarity over in Libra. It's the time to recalibrate. It's the time to create new balance in life. And if something is out of balance, I think this is a new moon on a bigger level that's trying to get you to look at that. That's, with that said, maybe that's some of the underpinnings with some of the professional changes or changes in your, direction or career or title that you are experiencing this month. Sort of like, maybe I need to make sure my professional life or the goals that I'm working towards are actually in alignment with something greater than myself. A few days later, Venus will go into Taurus. So we're sort of getting into a part of your personal calendar. We're getting towards the end of your personal calendar, but Taurus for you is about friends, it's about community, it's about social networking, the stuff we do for our professional life, but also the stuff we do on, like our social circle. And, who are your allies at this time? Maybe you need to make sure that you're reaching out to friends. You've been maybe really busy, Cancer, but your heart, or part of your heart, part of the heart, Venus does talk about the heart on some level, is out there in the world. It's out there with your community. And we've all been through a lot in the last year. Maybe we need to rekindle friendships. Maybe we've seen a lot of changes in our social circle over the last year. Certainly all living on Zoom these days sort of makes it a different type of dynamic. Or maybe you now have the ability to get out there and to connect with people on a physical level. But do keep in mind that your social circle and the people in your life, it's in a state of flux. It's actually been in a state of flux the last couple of years. People are sort of like coming in and coming out of your life right now. And I think especially as you go into the latter part of this month, like I said, Venus goes into Taurus on April 14th. You have Mercury in Taurus on April 19th, the Sun in Taurus, switching into a new season also on April 19th. And then this, with all these planets starting to come into Taurus, it's going to pick up on Uranus in Taurus. And, it's worthwhile to go back. Cancer, you think, yeah, I'm not a Taurus. Well, Taurus talks about a particular part of your life. It talks about your community. It talks about your goals and ambitions. It talks about your relationship with humanity, society, social causes, social justice. And maybe when you go back and you look at May of 2018, March of 2019, you might see some shifts in that realm, your social circle, your community, your friendships, and how the end of April, the second half of April, is this sort of ongoing story of awakening and transformation and seismic shifts. And for everybody, for some signs more than others, but for everybody this year, 2021, it's like we have one foot in a new life. This is a new life that's been unfolding the past couple of years, and we have a foot in old life. And that tension is going to start to really show up as we go into the end of the month and even into May as well. I will say Mars, it will leave Gemini and it will go into Cancer, your sign, on April 23rd. So if you haven't been quite getting a lot of traction on things, let me tell you, Mars and your sign gives you a lot of traction, also gives you maybe even a little bit of emotional temper, stirs things up. So maybe you are really feeling heated or at least inspired or motivated, or you're taking action, you're moving in the second half, or at least like the last week of April. Mars is not sort of, even or quiet, so life's probably not going to be quiet in that last week of April. On top of that, we have a Scorpio full moon on April 26th. So this full moon puts the spotlight on, these sort of bigger themes of transformation, rebirth, the psyche, having to face ourselves. I know all that, the shadow, all the Scorpio bywords, but the words concentrated in your personal chart, it talks about identity. Who are you, Cancer? I know that's sort of a broad question, but the reality is most of us, we don't know who we are. Who we are, or who we think we are, is an amalgam of, our conditioning, our parents, our ancestors, all these other things. And I think that this is always a good time to really get back to who you really are. As you are seeing some changes in your friendships, maybe that's maybe that's inspiring you or challenging you to show up differently, to be differently, to really be your true self. So this full moon is saying, like, who are you? What are your talents? What makes you you? What sort of creativities do you have? And creativity does not, it's not only art. This full moon, by the way, and this is obviously relevant for a small slice of people, but if fertility and pregnancy are on your radar, this is a full moon to sort of time things accordingly. So, because this part of the chart does talk about, it does talk about the self, but it's like that energy that gives life to everything. It gives life to the things that we create in life, and this does include children. So, maybe if it's not literal children or pregnancy, then it's metaphoric pregnancy. And you're like, oh, Scorpio, pregnancy. Those don't quite seem to fit. But there's a lot of alchemy in Scorpio. There's a lot of sexuality and drive and power. And I think sometimes Cancer gets a little, like like, oh, Cancer, but your fifth sign, the zodiac, is Scorpio. People, I think, kind of underestimate you. And Aries is your career sign. So you're Aries out in the world. You got all this Mars energy in places that maybe people don't always see in you, Cancer, but you always surprise them. So this full moon, speaking of surprises, this full moon may bring some surprises. So don't be, do your due diligence, do what you can. Don't worry, Cancer, it'll be fine. I will say the next day, on April 27th, we will see Pluto turn retrograde. It will turn retrograde 26 of Capricorn. Capricorn for you is your relationship sign. A little side note, you've been seeing a lot of big changes in your relationship life since even going back to 2008. And at the heart of this 13-year chapter, which will be 16 years in total, again, whole other story, is a need for you to show up in relationships in a very different way. So Pluto turning retrograde at the end of the month, yes, it comes right after a full moon. This full moon is asking you to really be you. But you could say that in a way that's connected to relationships, because we often change ourselves for other people. We often deny what makes us unique, what makes our talents. Maybe we have a partner, they're not as supportive, or we sort of fit ourselves into a shape that's not our shape. And Pluto, true to form, has been trying to get the wrong shape out of the way for the last 10 years. So just be your shape, Cancer, just a little crab shape. But that's sort of this deeper theme that's running through the astrology at the end of this month. And, seismic shifts may be happening. That full moon is opposite Uranus and Taurus and square Saturn. So again, pulling you in one direction, but the old you is still holding on strong. You're going to have to somehow resolve these two things, these two directions, these two lives. And we all have to in our own way. But I think for you, it's sort of showing up in a way that's touching on some bigger themes about identity, about your place in the world, about career. So time for you to see what's going to happen. So thank you, Cancer, for listening and joining me for another look at the astrology of this month. My name, again, is Katie Sweetman. I'm with Empowering Astrology. You can follow me online at empoweringastrology.com. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. There's daily content. Or you can subscribe to this YouTube channel to keep listening. So until next month, take care. Bye.